Ping. Okay, we should be live. Can you let us know if you can see and hear us? Oh, wait, maybe not on Instagram yet, but we are definitely live on YouTube for sure. I have to hit the go live button on this. Aha. And I think we should be live.
For sure.
Hey, I think we're live. There's a bit of a delay.
We're live.
Are we
I don't know if
live?
it's Instagram though.
I am seeing something here. Nothing yet? Let's try this one more time. I see live. Are you seeing live?
Seeing live.
Hello, everyone. Nobody's here quite yet. Let me see what I'm seeing. Are you seeing anything? We are learning.
Oh.
Wait.
Me?
Are we catching it? Oh, I'm seeing people are joining. Hello, Summer's Ready's joining, and Sophia Raynon is joining. Can you see this at all on your end? Hello, everybody. We're just waiting for y'all to come in. Welcome. We've got 3 on, and I've got Instagram Live right now.
Rock on, Kami.
Good evening, Summer's Ready. Good evening, good evening. Are you seeing anything? Are you seeing the feed may be coming through on this one? For us, it may not be easier to see on the other way around, but we got it either way. Let's keep going. This one is going to be an interesting chat, I hope.
It definitely is.
Right? Anisha, are you seeing anything? Are you good? There's a bit of a delay I'm noticing.
There is a delay, but people are coming in.
Yep. So that's all good. I am mad. I am not mad at all.
So the messages, are they going to come from this side?
Yeah, I'm seeing the messages on my Instagram page here. So I'm seeing it from watching. I'm seeing my Instagram live on Instagram. Everybody coming in, hello and welcome. We're just trying to sort out some new things because we're trying to be fancy tonight. So let us know. Let us know if the stream is working well, if you can see us. Where are you shouting out from? Is it on Instagram? Is it YouTube? Please let us know because we're trying some things.
Yes, we want to differentiate the YouTube from the Instagram.
Right? If we can. Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome. And as you coming in, we should get hot and ready to talk about what we're going to talk about today.
Yes.
Right?
Let me share it to some people.
All right. Please come through. Wow, don't mind. I hope y'all aren't hearing my dogs. I've got 3 and hello. Hey, I see you, Alana. I see you all are in here. We're going to be talking about some questions. I was calling this originally Bring What You're Healing, because we're going to be talking about all of the stuff that comes up when we are in relationships or breaking out of relationships or in relationships that we should be breaking out of, or all the damn things that just come from being hooked up with somebody and knowing that we have to heal them. So, like me, I brought my trusty. This is just cola champagne, really, but it is. It's a cola champagne with a little bit of a straw that I like. I like this ice cream cup, so comfort,
Yes.
right? Bring the comfort things on today, and let's talk about what and how we're feeling, right? Uh, all right. So, where are we starting? Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to throw in here?
If not, I'll start.
Right. And if you do have a question, anything that you want to talk about, if you want a little bit of advice about something today, this would be the time to throw it in this chat and we will read them out and be moving from that space. Like, we'll do some stuff. Sound like a plan?
It's a plan.
All right. So start with your questions
All
while
right.
we're waiting.
So let's get to my handy dandy notes over here.
Yes.
All right.
Right.
So the first question is drum
Mhm.
roll. Joking.
Yeah.
Body counts. Why does it
Oh,
matter?
oh. I just did a post on this actually recently. Why does it matter? Let's talk about that. Does it matter? Do we really care all that much about body counts? Do we really, is it in a space where, you know, why do we think about it? Why do we think about body counts? Can you tell me?
Personally, I mean, from my experience, I feel that a lot of men ask what their body. I don't even know why they ask that question because I don't care about your past, to be honest. But men focus a lot on your body count because of the fact that I guess like in terms of they think that like if you don't have a lot of bodies on that you had sex with, then you are a Virgin Mary or you are seen as some kind of like
Let's talk about the body count.
something because it don't
Well,
make no sense to me.
right, that men's are always so worried about how many folks we have been with, and a lot of that is based upon, again, the way women are viewed. And I just wanted to say hey to everybody who's come into the chat. I see some of my peeps that have come in. I'm giving Aisha chosen one in the chat. Tiffany T, I see you've joined. All of the loves, everybody that's in, hello. And we were just kicking off talking about body counts, why these things matter or really don't matter, or at least let me preface, let me not be like bringing all my own feelings on this, but why body counts are something that in particular seem to focus on women. And for me, I think a lot of it has to do with this idea of purity culture, this idea that women must be virginal and, pure to get male attention. And then I'm going to tell you what I really think it's about, which is that for most men, if a woman hasn't been with many partners, she has no idea what to expect from you, right? Like she isn't going to know whether you're a good lover or a bad lover if you've been her only lover, right?
Facts.
And I would offer, I think a lot of men are very intimidated with the idea of a woman who's had many partners, because we know that for the most part, most men focus their pleasure on themselves. Like, we can fake an orgasm, and how many of us have? How many of us have, right? Yeah, I refuse to now. Like, I ain't faking that shit now. But I know
Mm,
when I was in my younger days, I used to fake it, and I have faked it. And it was because, you want to stay, you want to make the man you're with feel good. So you will, lie about what the pleasure is. And I would offer that a lot of what happens when we are talking about sex and sexuality is that we look at sex through a male's lens. when in all actuality, there's a very different way that women experience sex and men experience sex. And we need to switch the lens from a male's lens to a feminine based one. And what I mean by that is that we got to start holding the men accountable. And if they're pushing with their body count, we got to push back with ours. Why does our body counts matter?
Mm-hmm.
Because what I have found over the years, because I'm a little older, as y'all see, I've got this signature gray going on here. What I have found is that once you get past the hot and sexy, maybe main attraction, and the two of you have been in a longer term relationship, a lot of the time it starts to matter. And I see a lot of dead bedrooms. I see a lot of I see a lot of couples who've been together for like a couple of years and more that stop having sex altogether, and a
Wow.
lot of that, yeah, it's like it. I was actually quite surprised at how much we see that, and a lot of that is based upon this idea of we we are told sex is supposed to be, especially as women, you've spent a whole lifetime guarding and being the good girl, right? And then
Mhm.
you get married and suddenly you're supposed to learn to be the whore in the bedroom. But if you've spent a whole lifetime being the good girl and now you have to switch on to being the whore in the bedroom, how does that work? And so sometimes it doesn't translate well on a female's part, right? And then again, for men, a lot of men learn about sex through watching porn, um, and don't have the same athleticism and prowess that they think they are imitating. Like they like to pretend they're porn stars, but they're not even remotely playing one on TV. You know what I'm saying? You don't got the skill set. And we all know that the way we see porn, or what you see on a porn channel, I often tell young women and I also tell young men, they are sexual athletes. Remember that they're not having just sex in that one space, eh? Like these people are having sex with cameras.
Yeah.
They're arching their backs and their body and their pum pum and all of these things because they're looking for specific camera angles.
Mm-hmm.
Happening, somebody's zoning in, right? Because they like it's not what you're seeing in the bedroom. And so a lot of it is very unnatural. A lot of it is completely fake. You can make like some of the like you can make pastes and stuff and drizzle them to make things look like a certain way. Like there's so much that is happening behind those scenes. So we're holding to a standard of goodness, or this idea of a body count, but it's really feeding a bigger problem or a bigger challenge about connection and love. And
Mm-hmm.
so body counts aren't what we think body counts are. It's really not. What does anybody else think? Do like anybody else got any thoughts about that?
I mean, when you think about it on that level, it makes sense. I don't think they understand that because it's more
No.
from an ego perspective of like, oh, so because a lot of times they ask the question following, um, is your ex better than me? Or how's your ex, like those kind of questions come up following after how many men you slept with. What? Why would you want to
Yes,
know if my ex,
because
why would you want to know that?
I often tell young men that don't ask questions. Don't write a check your ass can't cash, eh? Don't write a check your ass can't cash. Because the bottom line is, do you really want to know how, and what her ex-lover was like in bed?
Right.
Because it's not always the best question. Because again, I would offer it is ego based for most men, because what do we tell men they're supposed to be good at? They're supposed to be good in bed. They're supposed to
Provider.
be right. They're supposed to be like performers. They're supposed to be, protectors. And a lot of men rate their masculinity by sexual conquest and how many times they can stab in cabin. Like there's a lot of that kind of thing. That's an old school term, eh? That's our dance hall. Anybody in here who's older who knows them things, you know what I mean by stabbing cabin. Um,
I don't. Stab
yeah, I was gonna say it's an old hall song, old school dance hall where it used to go stabbing cabin because there's this whole idea that you know the more times that penis gets put into a hole, a female hole, there's somehow, men are considered, valuable. That's how they valued themselves. And the way that we are considered valuable is to keep ourselves pure. So there's always this contest that happens, right?
hmm
Between the two sides about what is valuable and what is not valuable. And I would offer that that really does cause a big problem for us because, again, it sets up both sides not to win. It really does. It
Yeah.
sets up to be on a losing end in a lot of the ways. So you let me know, like, what do you think about? I know for me that anytime a man goes into those positions, they're normally very insecure. They're normally, for me, it's like, first of all, I am a sexual athlete. Don't ask things you don't really want to know the answer to because you don't want to know with me, right? Don't ask.
Facts. Sense.
Fact. Don't ask because you probably ain't gonna like your answers. You probably ain't gonna like what I have to say. Um, and again, I also say, um, you are in my here and now. And so a lot of what I find is a lot of folks don't realize that intimacy makes the best sex. So it's not how many people you've been with, it's that intimacy. It's how many times the key, the best key for anybody is not how many times you have, how many people you've been with, but the challenge is can you make love to one person over and over again? That's when you know you're a fabulous lover. Can you make love to the same woman 1,000 times and still curl her toes? Because that's when you know you're a lover. That's like, damn. You know what I mean? Anybody can stick something in a hole that don't even get wet.
Facts. Such a sad truth.
So
So put that out there.
facts. I often like I often talk to a lot of men about that as well. Like don't play around with what is your ability to make love. Sex means nothing. We focus so much on this performative side of being sexual. And again, we've all settled sometimes for lovers that aren't great in the bedroom, right? Like they're just not worth our time or our energy. And I often say to women, we got to stop doing that. And the way that we stop doing that is by understanding our own bodies. When you know how to pleasure yourself, I often say this, when you know how to pleasure yourself, you will change the game sexually for yourself. It matters so much when we stop thinking that men have to give us our pleasure, right?
Mm,
You won't settle as often if you know what your pleasure feels like. And two, it's always good when you understand who you are and where your pleasure goes. You know why as well? Because if that's your case, then you can direct who's loving you up. Like if he ain't touching you right, you ain't gonna just sit there and go, "Oh wow." No, you'll be like, "No, I need you to ease off a little piece." I'm not
mm.
ready to take that the way you're trying to give it to me right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. More
There's so
like
many things.
effective communication, like while having sex.
Absolutely. And even with somebody who's a new lover, like it's always going to be more awkward with a new lover because again, you're learning each other, but you can slow up the curve a lot. You can kind of change the game a little bit and make it easier if you take control and can command your space earlier in the game. And for some men, that's kind of intimidating, Like it really can be intimidating if you're strong and know yourself, right?
Facts.
Right? What
100%.
what have you had? Have you had a problem with that? Like, have you ever had a woman tell you, a man or woman, because like me, I'm not always particular. Um, I've never had a woman tell me that, my body count was a problem. I have had men tell me that. Um,
I mean, hmm. I have. I mean, it sort of has been a big problem. That's why I think it's so important to address is because, like, why is that such a problem of how many people I slept with? Even the fact that when, um, like, some people have think that they have to be, like, sort of, like, hidden.
so what will
Like, that's a
happen?
hidden part of
I'm
themselves that they have to hide it. Hmm?
Yeah, like I'm curious. So how would a conversation like that go? So you guys are talking, you're vibing. A guy comes up and asks you how many people you've been with. What happens? Walk me through it,
I sort of just get, like, sort of shocked. Like, and you're like, why are you asking that question?
right?
And then you sort of get like this like little like shame kind of thing comes up. Like you sort of feel like vulnerable, like, why does that matter? Like kind of thing. And like, and especially if you're in that circle that they know, whatever, and then they feel like I guess it also comes down to like they had like this thing where if you fucked my friend or if you fucked somebody I knew, then that kind of like ego thing plays with them and you're like, oh, that means you like you love in the crew, like kind of vibe. Like Drake said, "You loving the crew," but yeah, so like I feel like that's what comes up, and I get it. However, at the same time,
You-
like look how many
Yeah,
men that they dong all the time, and they have no problem. But it's okay because according to them, with their theory is like, here's a water, and you put your hand in there, and everybody puts their hand in there, and it gets dirty supposedly all of a sudden, and I'm like, okay, so what about y'all? Y'all the
well,
ones who be sharing up the diseases. I don't understand you the
right?
audacity.
I agree. I will, and again, if you're in the audience, feel free to put your comments in because I just noticed like Summer's Remedy just put a comment in saying, "I always say it doesn't matter if that's they weren't for me," and I
100%.
agree with the thing. I know that I think it's one of those wonderful signs if a guy feels so threatened or upset by that. I think it becomes about what is the priority that you're having with this person. Like what are you dealing with? If it's somebody you're going to hit and quit, who gives a shit, right? But if it's somebody that you want a meaningful relationship and that's the first place they go to, we like a lot of what we're going to be dealing with tomorrow is really talking about healing the wounds of bad relationships, right? But
Yes.
I think it starts with women being in awareness of some of the warning signs about the men. If a man is going to even ask you that question and feel threatened, I
Run.
would say, yeah, I would say you ain't even worth. I would be like, this was a crown jewel that you almost got inside of.
Mhm.
But that answer says, your friend may have had it. You know what I mean?
Your friend may have had it. Your friend didn't ask that question. This is
Right?
where you fucked up.
You fucked up. You fucked up. Right? Because again, I love that. I would be crazy, but they're worried about I could be crazy, but they're worried about a body count. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what I'm saying. Like the logics doesn't make no sense. Like
It
your
really doesn't.
priorities is on a different level, and also shows that you're insecure. Because why is it that you're asking that question? If you're
And it
secure enough, you shouldn't ask about no past, like at
Thank
all.
you. Because you should see, and this is the thing, like, these are conversations that are also giving you yellow and red flags, right? Like a dude that is to ask that, maybe not be somebody you want to build a whole relationship with. He may
Mhm.
be a hit it and a quit it. if you're even wanting to. Because I'll be like, if you need to ask that, what are you worried about? My response to a question like that would be like, what you worried about? Afraid you ain't gonna be able to measure up, right?
Facts.
Because
Facts.
honestly, I think that that's a lot of the intimidation. A lot of our men want to be and be seen as the top, right? As the best. And we live in a world that has objectified and commodified womanhood. We are possession to in a marriage or a relationship. Like I had an interesting conversation with my significant other, my husband, yesterday or 2 days ago, I think. Anyway, it's a while ago, a bit ago, and we were talking about this idea of needing protection, like the idea of a man being our protectors. And I said to him, I said, think about that for a minute. We have personified maleness and masculinity. One of your roles is to be, who the hell do you have to protect me from? Other men? And he was like, yeah, other men. And I said, what the hell is wrong with a world where women still need to be protected from other men? Like, just breathe that in for a second. What
Mm-hmm.
kind of world is this? And I was saying, yeah, the other day that I believe it is what should be mandatory is, how when for some of us in certain cultures are, you have a baby girl and you get like gold or something like that. I believe that either, and this is kind of like violent what I'm about to say, but we should give them gold, and she should also get like a gun, like a gun that is given with her with lifetime training, like it should be mandatory, because there is no way that a woman should have to enter this world and her autonomy must be dependent on a man having to protect her.
And they
And the
can't even
gun,
protect themselves.
I, and they're not protecting
Yourself.
themselves.
Let's protect me.
Well, that's the thing. Like it's a hopeless. We doom so many men because again, what we have created as masculinity are it's a toxic sign of aggression. Like you have to be this aggressive person to show up and be amazing and wonderful, right? And I would offer that in that aggression, in that idea of, I am man, I'm beating my chest, I have to be aggressive. Not every man is like control two punch, you know what I mean? Not every man can run. Like all of the things that we have said make you masculine, not every man has those traits. And I would
True.
especially say men of color do not, we have hypersexualized black men, and so that's like the one place they're supposed to stand up. But I know that one of the men who I've ever seen with the smallest penis that I have ever seen in my life was on a black man. Was on a black man. It wasn't on like just anybody else. So again, I think that we have these misconceptions of what is beautiful, what is manliness, because even though his Johnson wasn't the biggest, that man understood that and made up for it in all other ways, and he was a great lover
Yeah,
because
even Vash Enchanted Collection said a lot of men are insecure within, so they often try to justify their controlling ways as them being a protector.
let's snap to that. I'm snapping to that. And we perpetuate it, not us in general, because I think most women recognize that this isn't the best way. But I think it's something that we see very often, or we experience very often, because society has told so many men that this is what it is. And because most men don't live up to these optimum ideas and standards of what beauty, of what masculinity is supposed to be, then they feel like failures. They really feel like failures. And you know what then happens? They internalize it. And you know that old saying about kicking the dog. Well, you don't kick the dog, they kick their woman.
Yeah, Yeah.
And we are easily to blame. We are easily to blame. So, to me, how do we change that? Any thoughts on how we shift this? What are some suggestions that everybody may have?
I mean, I think therapy is definitely an option.
I love that one. I believe in therapy for everybody. I think if you've existed in this reality at some point, if you have the option and the ability and the access to be able to get into therapy, I say that is a no brainer. Please do it, please. Um, but I would also is that a journey for many men to love. And I think that comes from the pushback from women to hold their ground, that we ourselves have to rethink why we are feeling the shame. Why do we feel shame? I
Yeah.
know my body count is quite high, and I am unapologetic for my body count. I've been with probably over, I estimate it's probably like 120, maybe up to 150, because I have a history
Hmm.
in the adult Indian with several different people. However, in my world, I separate, first of all, I separate it like there's business, and then there are my significant others, like what I did on my personal time. And those
Hmm.
are two separate experiences of sex and sexuality. And
100%.
right. And, but there, all kinds of men are intimidated with that because that means, I've had a lot of experience. And so I also understand pleasure and I know how to give pleasure. And
Hmm.
so that raises a level of expectation. And so for me, I have to, you really do have to anchor in. And so I switch that game on them. If they're like, oh, yo, you slept with the crew. Yeah. And they paid me for it. So, I'd be like,
Period.
right, right. Like I know my, if you want to even put it to a currency value, I have had that experience. What do you bring to the table? Can you make love to me? There's a difference between fucking 500 people, and having love and making love and intimacy. There's a big difference between the two. Where are you going to sit in? Because those 150 haven't satisfied me. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It wasn't about that.
Very true. I think it's like
A lot. It might be lagging a little bit because we're watching. I know I'm watching like three different streams. Are you guys seeing us full time? So even if it's lagging, we're seeing one real time. I hope it might be showing a little bit differently on the other two ends. Hopefully,
hopefully.
can you guys let us know if everything's showing up okay on you guys' end?
Yeah,
Can
let us
everybody
know
hear
if
us?
it's lagging or if it's fast or slow or slower fast.
If you guys are seeing us all good,
Am I a part? So I had a question. I just wanted to.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's good. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's good. Thank you. Thank you, Levi. I see you in the chat. Hey. I know I owe you a call. I owe you a call. Mwah. I love it. Auntie Tasha, hello. Welcome. You guys are coming on in. We are talking about body counts. We are talking about, if you're just joining, we're talking about body counts. We're talking about this misconception that comes around sex and sexuality. We're talking about this, how do we combat that question of like, how many men have you slept with, or and all of the stuff that entails. And we would love to hear, um like, oh, the picture's not great, is that on my end? Because I see I'm fuzzy maybe on that side.
Yeah, you're a little fuzzy when I see
Okay, we'll see if we can sort that out. It's interesting.
if I
Okay, let me
reflect
see if I
on
can
here,
fix
will it
that.
is it different?
Maybe. I might be fuzzy on that one.
On Insta.
Maybe. We're trying to live thing on Insta. We're trying to live stream things. So bear with us, guys. Thank you. Thank you, Levi. I agree. We're working a thing.
We are
Um,
trying a thing out here.
right? We're working the tech stuff out eventually anyway. But again, yeah, like we are talking about what it is when we subscribe to these ideals about body count and the shame. And I'm not saying it's something that we shed easily, right? It's not an easy thing to shed. But I also think that it's a very good indication as to who we are with and why are we in these positionings. And when do the questions come up even? You know what I mean? Like it should not be, "Hi, my name is," and then
What's your body?
how many people have you slept with? Like
I think it comes
coming up
up
like that.
when um I'm trying to figure out when the time it comes up. It's sort of like one of those
Is
when
it
they're talking
slipping
about
in?
sex. Usually it's about sex. Usually it's a conversation about sex and like, oh, so how many people have you slept with? So it's sort of like one of those follow-up questions because they want to know and like this is my time to shine. So that's when they decide to ask that question.
Curiosity is, do you ask back? Like, have you ever asked them back how many? Okay, if I volunteer who I slept with, how many I've slept with, how many have you slept with? Has that
100%.
ever come back? And what do
100%.
you get? What
Oh,
are
why
you
can't you
normally
answer the
okay?
question though? Why can't you answer the question?
Really? And so they
It's
won't
all
volunteer.
combative. They get combative and defensive, but yet they can ask you a question, but you can't ask that question back.
I've often heard this in my circles where they'll say that women will always lessen their number, always add to their number, right? They'll always say that they've been with, you know, 10 woman. If it's 10 women they've been with, then it's really probably two. You know what I mean? Like they're going to lie about their body count versus what the actuality of it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, you have to think about that. How many men is that the only thing they get to pride themselves with and from? It I'm a guy, it doesn't count. Like that is insane.
Yeah,
Because
that's a lot of times
again,
too.
yeah, and again, we have to as women really take a look at that because HIV and AIDS are still a thing. And it doesn't the count of that is women, and especially black women are getting HIV and AIDS at exponential rates. And why is because penis and your cervix is much more porous. It's much easier for breakages and vessels, so they're being contact, blood to blood or fluid contact inside. So a woman is actually, excuse me, more prone is actually more prone. So that's why we see higher rates of HIV, and especially in Black women. Like there was just a story last week of a DJ. I don't know if you guys
And that's
saw
what
that. He was a DJ, a dancehall DJ in Toronto. That's where we're streaming from the GTA, the six, who just was convicted of giving HIV and AIDS to giving HIV to several different women, knowingly giving it. He knew he was HIV positive and he was just being scandal and just slinging all over town.
because
And
imagine he had this whole pill cabinet filled with pills. Wait, what? If she didn't
you
open
heard
up
the story.
Anna and nosy, no one would have ever known. That's
Thank
crazy.
you. And that's what I'm saying.
Pick up the investigators.
Right? Like that is insane. And so we women truly, Isn't that I am with you, refined Renee? Like, it is insane the risks that we put ourselves up for. And I have to ask myself why, because apparently with a lot of like women of a certain age, because he's in his 30s, I would suspect, late 30s from what I saw of the pictures.
Yeah.
And apparently there was a lot of older women that, have come down with this. And I thought, yeah, like there's that culture around this. And we have to really think about what is it we want to value.
Hmm.
There's nothing wrong with arbitrarily having sexual contact. There is nothing wrong with that at all, right? But we really have to examine the who are we doing it with, because dirty D's are a thing. You know what I'm saying? And and
Facts.
also, it is fact, because even if your dude isn't, got some sort or something, HIV, there's still, if they're sticking that thing here, there, and everywhere, your pH balance can get messed up. We're
Yeah.
we're like we're like this beautiful ecosystem. Everything's got a balance. And when you're flinging in a dirty something or something that just doesn't mesh right with your stuff, you know what I mean? It
When you
becomes a problem, right?
and that's the thing as well. Like our pH is it tells us exactly what it is. Like no, it's like an alarm. We have an alarm. It's our pum, and it tells you no. But
Right?
then these men
You,
want to be like, "Oh, you're nasty. You smell bad. You are the reason."
you messed me up. You messed me up. Okay. And it really is those kinds of things. Okay. I mean, we're not saying it's only that. There can be many things. Like if you're using a soap, sometimes soaps can throw us off. A lot of the times we really can be eating something, it is a very delicate balance.
It is,
So, I'm not saying it's the only thing, but
but
throwing up,
it's one of them. It's one
it
of
is
them.
a major one. When you
Yeah.
throw in different various things, um, that's a problem. And
Exactly.
I would offer that women have to also, it becomes much more arduous for women when we focus on men's like being able to stick it in. When we focus on men being able to just pleasure and use us for their pleasure, you actually are also ruining your eco balance, because the woman's body doesn't work that way. So a woman's body needs to go through its turn on. You need to get your
Well, there's
juices
stages.
flowing. Hmm? Sorry?
There's stages to this.
Yes.
One stage.
Yes. I was actually reading a Reddit post that had me howling. There was a young man who wrote in, and he was saying that he broke up with his girlfriend because she took too long to get to pleasure. She took
That's
too
your
long to
fault,
turn
sir.
on.
That's your fault, sir. No one else but yours. Like what? Did he know it's his
Right?
fault? Was he
He
aware that it's his fault?
Yeah, well, he, I think, felt inadequate, because again, he probably had to do some work. And I really want to make women who are in this chat, and who will say that, oh my gosh, it takes me a long time, you are more the norm than not. Most women only, there's very few women, I think the statistic is like 40%, less than 50, okay, I know that much, come from penis to vagina sex, PIV sex. We don't, that's not for us. Very few women will orgasm from penis to vagina sex. That's not how it happens for us. Your bitty to clitty, that is your way to, it is normally a clitoris and having some sort of connection, something to that space. If you're going to do the penis to vagina, that, you can, it does happen. But for most women, we need a lot to get us there. And it definitely, if you're going to get there has to be a turn on. There has to be a process. And very few women, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Somebody's, they'll see somebody, they see a girl they like, and they're like, hey, and they get, but for a man, or for a woman, sorry, it's a very different experience. For a woman, most of the time, we need our sensations turned on. And there's three things that get us to orgasm. And so a lot of that is about, you need to be turned on, like you need the physical touch, you need the good old makeout session. We also then need to feel safe. We need safety in that space to release into that final stage of orgasm. So it's safety first. It's the physicality, then there's turn on, and then there's this desire and need to be safe, then to release, to be able to have full.
Wow.
We are having a bit of a problem,
We're
right?
lagging.
Can you hear me?
We're
Yeah,
lagging.
we're are we okay again? Are we okay? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good, good. So that's another thing.
Mhm. Wow. I'm mind
Yeah.
boggled here, up here in this general area.
Right?
Well, I mean, we really went through the fact of body count, and I feel like I have more clarity, and now know it's a red flag if they ask for a body count.
Yeah, any dude that's got to ask you, I'd be like, why? Like, I could be the sexual Olympics, I could be your gold medal star. Are you up for training with me? You know what I mean? That's always how I've played it back.
Gang,
Any
gang.
man who asks me that, right? Any man who's played it back like that. Most men are very intimidated with a woman who understands her pleasure and
Mhm.
understands her body. And
And
you
that's
will
it.
own,
Period.
yes, period. And what will happen though, Anisha, I will offer this up, that the second you stand in that power, you're going to find a man who, if he's willing to rise to that, because good sex not that it only happens, but great sex happens with communication and the buildup of intimacy. It's very rare you can hit somebody, hit it and quit it, and it's going to be like fulfilling and lasting. That takes the build, right? The first time you sleep with somebody, it's probably not the best time. It's the times afterwards. And if both of you are comfortable with each other and you're willing to I approach sex with what I always say is curiosity.
Mhm.
Approaching sex with curiosity, where both of you can have this as a playground to explore. That's when sex becomes something of value.
That makes sense.
I'm just, right? I'm looking and hearing Summer's remedy. You said even when some men go and get tested, they don't want to. And I agree. If you can't get tested, then it's a no for me.
We're lagging.
100%. Also have somebody who's not testing, who's not willing to get tested. That is a bit of a challenge. Um, why? Why would you not get tested? Why would you not want to be safe? I remember that I used to have some clients who, and I would never see you again, who would, say, oh, we don't want to use a condom. And I was like, motherfucker, you don't know how many people I have been with today. You know what I mean? Like, oh, where this pussy has been today. Well, even if you're gonna pay me extra, you got your wife at home. You gonna risk that. You gonna risk that. You know what I
Crazy.
mean? Yeah,
Mhm.
right. And so for me, that's a no, you hit my blacklist for that. No way would I want you for even. I know I was regularly tested. This was my temple, this was my moneymaker. So of course I have to make sure that I wouldn't even see a client who would say something like that, because it
Mhm.
tells me about the level of where your mindset is. And even if I'm performing a service for you, if you don't give a damn about the people that are around you or yourself, what does that say for somebody who is providing this service for you? You
True.
cannot offer up anything of value. So I would offer that that becomes another thing to look at. These are red flags. Girls, you guys, we don't need that, eh? There is far too many toys, tools, just apparatuses that will get you where you need to go rather than for them to be the focus for you.
So true. I love that. I hope everybody
Right?
got some clarity after hearing that. Oh,
Right? And I also want to say if you want more, if you've been through a thing, so we are doing tomorrow at 2 o'clock, 2 p.m., our love rehab session, which is all about if you've had an ain't shit partner, if you've had a person that just has sent your heart in the dumpster and you just need a minute to heal it. We're going to be running through some healing exercises. We're going to spend some time and talk some shit and just do all of that. But then we're going to take the moment to try and take us to the next level where we can release all those feelings. And finally, we're going to put together a process that will allow you to invite real love and intimacy into your life. Hey, Pearly, I see you just joined. Welcome. We are talking about body counts. We were talking about, good loving, what it takes to make good love, what it takes if a man asks you about your body count. And the whole, this basically, we decided to throw him all the way out. Just throw the whole man in the trash. It ain't worth it because it's a sign of throw the whole man's in the trash, okay? Throw the
direct this
whole
here.
man's
This is your
whole
place.
man's. And I could even say this about queer folk as well. I know on certain circles, that's a whole other conversation. I'm gonna bring in some of my queer folks for us to have some conversations because there are hierarchies that exist even in that world. And I know, like, I am a bisexual woman, and so a lot of lesbians don't want to even hit me because I have been with some penis, and I'm always like, but I'm
That's
not.
interesting.
Oh, there's a whole realm in there. I'm breaking down some queer secrets. But yeah, that's a conversation for another day. There are hierarchies that exist even in that world. And I want to offer to you that at the end of the day, your body is your most valuable space. This is your vessel for pleasure. This is the space where magic happens. And
Mhm.
when you have amazing sex, and forget even the sex, it's the pleasure. You are taking yourself into a whole other dimension of your being. And so remember that when you choose to share it, or if you are just deciding to bring it on home and learn to love yourself and pleasure yourself. I often say that too. Pleasure, if you can't make love to yourself, how do you really make love to anyone else? And that is my final word for the night,
Facts,
right?
facts, facts.
So, one more plug, guys. Join us tomorrow. It is a donation fee of $10. It's for a small little fee of $10. It is at 2 p.m. tomorrow. The links are in our bios. You will be able to just go. We will go from there. I think there's a lag. I think we hit a lag. So
We
I'm going to
did.
just repeat that. Yep. I'm just going to repeat that again. So
Mhm.
the links are in our bios, or at least there is definitely one in mine. Please come through. It's going to be a monumentous event of healing, of talking some shit about our ain't good partners, and then clearing space to bring new love into our lives.
Ashe. Ashe.
Ashe. And I don't know about y'all, but I am so tired tonight. So we gonna wrap this up,
Yes.
and I will see you tomorrow. All right.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for taking your time out of your night on this Friday night and taking some time with us. And I hope that you guys learned a lot. And I hope I see you guys tomorrow.
Yep, come on out. We're going to be all about it, about it.
Yes. Alrighty.
Bye.
Bye, you guys. Have a good night.
Good night. Okay. Wait, I got figured how to end this live on this one.